This is Eastmans Elevated podcast. I have on great guests that are really knowledgeable, consistently successful. We're able to dive deep down the rabbit holes of these different subject matters of shooting, of physical fitness, of mental toughness and drive. All the different skills that make up a complete hunter that you can become.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Yo, what's happening, guys? Got a brand new Eastmans Elevated for you. So this week's a good one. This week I'm doing a podcast that I titled The Mule Deer Roundtable. And basically I got together a bunch of the speakers from the Western Hunting Summit that Lampers put on, the Mule Deer Seminar, and I just got us in a room and just hit record and started talking mule deer. So there's so much great, valuable insight from consistent mule deer killers in here. So I've got Dioni Amuchastegui on here. Look forward to me mispronouncing his name in the podcast. I have a tough time with that one, but the guy's an absolute mule deer killer, and he's got great insight into mule deer. He's real smart. I've had him on the podcast before, but we have him in the roundtable discussion. My bow hunting brother, Travis Nowotny. Man, I really like that guy. We've had him on the podcast recently, but just a consistent mule deer killer with his bow. And then I have Zach Kenner on. I met Zach Kenner on a mule deer hunt in Wyoming, met him at the trailhead, and we've kept in touch ever since. And so he's a great addition to the podcast. So 3 absolute mule deer killers, mule deer roundtable discussion. I really enjoyed it, and I know you guys are going to enjoy it too. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Eberly Stock Packs. Eberly Stock builds great durable packs that pack the weight right. And they make different packs for every different situation. And so their day packs, they have a bunch of different options here. I've really fallen in love with that kite pack. It's the perfect mix of being a lightweight day pack, but you can also pack out an animal if you get it, strap things to it. It's rigid enough to take that heavy weight for a pack out. So that kite pack has just been super for me. I really enjoy it. I use the little big top for smaller expeditions, and then I use their destroyer pack for longer expedition hunts. Like I say, they're all built durable, built to pack the weight right, and really get the weight on your hips. And they offer their packs for a good price point. So thanks to Eberly Stock for their support. If you're in the market for a new pack, make sure to check them out. One of the places you can check them out at is Sportsman's Warehouse. Sportsman's Warehouse carries all the top brands, and it's really nice to have a store where you can go in, touch and feel, try on the products you're going to buy, look through the optics you're thinking about purchasing. They've got knowledgeable staff in each one of their departments, and that's their fishing department, their rifle department or hunting department. They have an archery department, optics, and just really knowledgeable, passionate people that are working in there that can help answer your questions. They've got all the backpacking foods in there, so make sure you get set up for this season, and if there's anything you're missing for your kid or anything you need along the way, just look up a location. They have a bunch of locations across the western United States. Thanks to those guys for their support. Make sure to check out Sportsman's Warehouse. Over there at Eastman's, we've got some great episodes of Beyond the Grid coming up. So I've got a podcast now lined up with Dan Picard. I'm going to get him on a hunting podcast. I'm also going to get him on Eastman's Flycast. That's the fly fishing specific podcast. So we've got that all lined up for next week. We're going to record a good one. I'm sure it'll be about bow hunting and probably be about elk hunting, as Dan is just an absolute fanatic for elk. And we've got one of the best episodes of Beyond the Grid coming up where he shoots this giant Wyoming bull. It's his personal best. He killed it last year. It's a great hunt coming up, along with some other ones that we're going to be releasing. So we'll talk about that. I'll make sure to give you guys a heads up when those videos are going to be released, but should be really exciting. So we have that going on. We also have Eastman's Tag Hub. You guys have heard me talk about this. So this is our internet research tool that compiles all our data from the MRS section and more about all different species, from mule deer to elk to antelope to special tags like sheep and moose and things. It's a great tag research tool. And it's all compiled in one place, Tag Hub. And Tag Hub, we're doing a big giveaway right now, $16,000 worth of gear. We've got bows, pistol we're giving away, packs, Everly stock, and then we also have a Quiet Cat electric bike that we're giving away. So all this is given away to our members to help get this thing off the ground and get this thing rolling. So if you guys are interested, it's a great research tool. Check out Eastman's Tag Hub. With that, I see one of my episodes was released onto Beyond the Grid. It's my first ever hunt, or my first ever filmed hunt, not my first ever hunt. That would be wild. But my first ever filmed hunt I did in Wyoming. I did it with Lane Walters. He's been on the podcast. He's a great video. He's just so talented behind the lens, pictures and video and things. And so we put together this film in Wyoming where we backpacked in and chased around some good velvet mule deer and tried to arrow one up there. And so we released that episode. It was just available on the Outdoor channel. Now you can find it on the internet under Beyond the Grid. So check out that hunt. Also the Eastman's Hunting TV on the Outdoor channel. One of my favorite episodes, the one that I'm most proud of, is last year's elk hunt, as it just went off over there. I got a few years under my belt talking in front of the camera, explaining what we're doing and how we're going about it. So it's a great episode. I'm really proud of it. So you can DVR that or check that out on the Outdoor channel. And with that, I think that's all I have, you guys. Let's get right into this podcast. So this is the Mule Deer Roundtable, Eastmans Elevated. I'm your host, Brian Barney. Here we go.
Because I wasn't happy. I mean, and I didn't have to go to a shop an hour and a half away.
It's nice.
Just right there.
How's everybody's volume?
I
can hear it good.
Yeah,
good.
Mine's good.
Okay. Not going to blow out your eardrums?
No.
Okay. I just thought we'll just get it started off. So I've got the Murderer's Row of mule deer hunters here. So this is awesome. I get to sit down with these guys and have a conversation. So we'll just say hey as I introduce you so people can put a voice with the name, and then we'll just get talking mule deer. So Travis Nowotny, man, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've got Zach Kenner, Alaska boy.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yep, but absolutely loves mule deer. In fact, I met you on the Mule Deer Mountain.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Dioni
Amuchastegui.
Oh, God, I was close.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Just an absolute killer from Idaho, man. I'm so impressed at what you do and your patience. And I've talked about it a little bit at the summit, and we were just having this conversation downstairs. So we've got all these great speakers that hunt and kill big mule deer, and there's we definitely do a lot similar and have similar mindsets, but our tactics can be totally different just from the habitat that we hunt or the weapons we hunt or the season. But I'm so impressed at what you do in mule deer in Idaho there.
Yeah, thank you. And like I've had that conversation with all the speakers, and it seems like we have a ton of the same skills, but our application of them is different.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
absolutely. Yeah, I've been telling the guys about your patience. I always think that's wild, and I've got that saying that's kind of caught on, and I don't know that I came up with it, but that patience kills the buck. And
slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Oh, I love that one too.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
That's how I approach it. It's just like, okay, I'm going to be slow, I'm going to be methodical, and I'm going to find him, and then when the opportunity comes up, I'm going to kill him the first chance. So,
yeah, well, that patience too. So you do a lot of scouting. And it seems like we've all done a lot of scouting in our early years, and as we get older, we have less and less free time and try to put our emphasis on hunting season. But you do a lot of scouting, and you're trying to locate these big bucks, and then where they're living come season. Is that right?
I want to know where he's living and how he uses the environment. I want to have a really good understanding of what he's doing when he's relaxed, because they just tighten up that same routine later in October. That's why they're so hard to find. It's just they've got that routine so down. They know where they can travel and not be seen. They know where they're going to go through that hill and not have sun hitting them, so they're very exposed and easy to spot. So like they're doing a lot of the same things, but their application of them, they're really, really tight. They're using the best little routes. They're eating in the most condensed little pockets that have cover and escape routes and feed, and it's just everything tightens up in their routine. But if you've got a good understanding of that and you've watched watched that deer enough, you've seen how he responds to pressure. Like, you can go in there and even if things happen, because they do a lot of times, there's other hunters move through the area. You can apply all the things you know about that animal and get a good estimation of how he might respond to that situation, figure him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love listening to your theories on it because you hunt deer exclusively with your rifle during the mid-season. Well, you might hunt with the bow a little bit, but that's kind of what you focus on. And I don't know what you guys think, but that's one of the toughest seasons to hunt deer. And then you have the highest pressure, and so you're hunting the highest pressure deer in those older age class that you focus on. They're so smart in that, after they shed their velvet in that late September, early October, man, that's a tough season to hunt them. And so I met Zach. I met you on the mountain and going in a bow hunt, and you were taking advantage of both weapons. And I think you hunted that year for 30-some days in that spot.
27, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was the glory days, so to speak, of Wyoming, where before the winter kill. I was in 2016. Well, did I meet you in 2015 or 2016? I hunted it both years. I think it was 2016 that I ran into you.
Yep.
And that was just an amazing season where I can't tell you how many hundreds of bucks I glassed over in those 27 days. But unlike his strategy, I was more kind of covering country. I've heard you talk about it too, where you get a good solid glass morning and evening, and I'm moving. It's like I'm looking for. It's kind of a numbers game where it's like, Dioni picks a drainage that he knows that buck's in, and he finds him, and it's like, I'm going to cover 200 deer and find the one that shows himself, and then focus in on him. But that was an amazing season. I saw so many nice bucks, and we ended up killing. We took 3 bucks out of there, all with rifles. Put some good stocks on with the bow, but that country's tough. They can bed themselves up in so many little timber pockets there. You can't actually see where exactly they bed, and it's hard to get in on them, with the bow. How
much did their behaviors change from the start of the bow season when you went in to the rifle season when you finished?
It kind of depended because I covered so much country, but like where you end up killing your buck that year, there were so many people in there, and those deer were already in the timber. It's like they were already pushed down, just too many people, too much pressure. I saw one of the biggest bucks I've ever seen in my life in that basin and said, there's too many people, and turned and walked the other way. And we ended up finding a 180 class 3-point, and down the ridge the opposite direction a couple miles, and made some really good plays on him and had fun hunting him, and there was nobody around. It was fun.
High pressure deer, they're a different species, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't already kind of have them figured out, you're at a really big disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think especially in Idaho, the way that Dioni hunts, I don't think those covering country in like Wyoming where there's an older age class of buck and more deer, Idaho, the way Dioni's doing it, finding that buck early and honing in on that buck and then being patient in that area, that really works.
Yeah.
It'd be a waste of time to spend as much time in one little section of country in Wyoming, because you'd just be looking at the same deer for days. It's really situational, and where you can apply that tactic is I don't know how unique it is, but at least where I'm at,
there's so much country in Idaho that's just void of deer, and the way that the mule deer change their habits as their whole daily routine tightens up as October approaches. I mean, it's about an impossible task to kill a big buck with your rifle every year, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. The pressure sure affects those deer. Like the biggest deer that I ever killed, I saw twice in 7 days, and that was during a bow season.
Yeah,
but there was guys hunting the ridge line and moving through, and I just believed in the vantage points, and I had scouted that deer, and there was enough big deer around that I hunted them like you would, Dioni, where I knew that deer was there, grabbed the vantage points day in, day out, and then finally arrowed that buck, on the second time I saw him in 7 days.
Yeah, and I wish Remy was here to tell that story about the buck he was following. And he kept thinking they went on this loop, but he ended up finding this one tiny little few 100-yard area where that buck had just been bedded up solid in there. And he questioned if he ever left that little hole. So and it's just situational, but it's good to have an awareness that some deer might just post up in a spot like that, and you got to find that little tiny nook or cranny where he's living.
Mm-hmm.
They're really killable if you know that little tiny nook or cranny.
Yeah, so Travis, you're my bow hunting brother. You're there in Idaho. I mean, all of us bow hunt, but yeah, you're pretty much bow hunting exclusive for these mule deer. Sure put down some nice ones last year. So how much of a part is your scouting and finding these deer and know where they're living a key to your success?
I'd say it's a huge key to my success. One of the biggest things is I don't like to waste time. So going into the season, having a plan and knowing where the deer are and what they're doing, it puts me that much farther ahead when it comes time that precious season is rolling around. On day one, I know what buck I'm looking for, or maybe I don't know what buck I'm looking for, but I know the areas that those deer live, and I'm not wasting time. So
that's so key, isn't it? Is that you're scouting, or when you've hunted an area before, you get to learn it and where deer prefer. And you said it earlier that Idaho has a bunch of great mule deer country that's void of deer, and it seems like a lot of country, you know, they're not spread out throughout the landscape. You know, that they find certain sections of country that they like, and then that's where they're hanging. And it's our job to find those. But you're right. If you can find that before season and know where those spots are, then you're putting all your time and effort in really good mule deer country where they live instead of, like, looking for them. And they also, even during the bow season and more so during the rifle season, they're way tougher to locate and find because they do tighten up their programs so much.
You can learn more in a day or two than you know, midsummer when they've got that bright red coat and they are more visible and they're out in the open. They haven't really tightened stuff up. You can learn more in a couple days that way than you could during a week of season because they just do tighten up those routines. So it's hard to tell the areas that are void of deer from the areas that have deer because the deer are really hard to find at that point in time. So, like, if a person can even just go out and say, okay, I'm just going to look for an area that has deer, and then once you find deer, you know, okay, this is a point I can go to, and I'm not starting from zero. You're going to be miles ahead than if you spent those 2 days right before season even, because the deer are just so much easier to find, and you know they're going to be somewhere in that area, so you've just narrowed it down that much more, and it was that much easier to figure out that information.
Yeah, I like that you can really fall back on all that scouting from the past. Like all the same locations that I find bucks in, you know, it might vary a little bit. For the most part, if I am on a time crunch, I can go and I can cherry pick all those spots until I find the buck I want, and you know, usually it works out. Just all that prior knowledge that is just really invaluable. So
Absolutely, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Where bucks like and where you hunt bucks, you find them there, you know, years in the future, and maybe it doesn't have the great big one that you're looking for in that cycle of bucks, but eventually one's going to grow up in that basin. So when you have a network of spots that you can check that you know deer like, you just know you're going to go in there and turn up some bucks. It's almost strange if you go into a basin that you know is bucky or you've seen them before and you don't turn up a buck or two living in there.
I love that cherry picking like that. I just go through all the old spots that I have, and I have a list of new spots I want to check out that I can just add to my artillery, and I can watch bucks from year to year and say, this buck right here, next year this buck's going to be a shooter, you know. So
Yes, yeah, that's smart. So Zach, you've been up in Alaska killing brown bear and Dall sheep. How does the Dall sheep compare to mule deer hunting?
Oh, it's the country is, you know, how mean the country is, I would say, is very similar.
Nice.
You know, as far as like a high country mule deer hunt. But I was telling these guys yesterday, it's a lot easier to see white sheep, you know, at 10 miles, you know, versus trying to find a mule deer in 1,000 yards in a drainage and you can't find him. You know, I mean, there's a lot of that, but no, it's amazing. It's super fortunate to be able to get up there and do that. And I don't know, originally I kind of had like a 3 to 5 year plan or something to maybe coming back, but I don't know, it's kind of growing on me. So we'll see when if I ever get back down here. But I do have a couple mule deer tags this year. I drew Montana, so I might come back here this fall, and I don't know when. It's kind of going to be whenever my schedule will allow, and that's kind of why I chose Montana to have a tag in this year, because the season's so broad. But
how cool! Yeah, it's we have some of the funnest hunting right around here for mule deer, and a lot of it is the places they live, and so that Dall sheep has to be spectacular up there, just the places they live. But it's the same thing with these mule deer. I just love the country they live in, and they can live all the way from the desert floor to the tops of the mountains, and then how they adapt to those habitats. They're just a crazy cool animal to hunt, and they are way tougher to glass.
Yeah.
Those gray coats, I mean, sometimes a deer just sticks out like a sore thumb and you can see it with your naked eye. And sometimes those things can be bedded in the wide open. And I'm sitting there glassing for an hour and I don't spot those things just bedded. Those gray coats in the rocks. Don't those blend in good?
Yeah, it's nuts. A lot of times I'll go into a spot and I know, I've watched a deer for a long time. I've got a pretty good idea where he's starting his day out most days. Their routine will change a little bit from day to day, but I usually know like what part of the hills this deer is going to show up on today. And if he's not there, he's going to be on this one. And I've got it narrowed down that much. I usually don't see him till they move. Like he'll be in the middle of this hillside. I know he didn't come over a ridge and just walk into it because it's really easy to see all the skylines. Like I'll know he's in the middle of this thick hillside, and even if it is all visible, I won't see him till he moves. That's just the reality of it.
Just turns his head. That's all.
Yep,
Sometimes that's all it takes.
He's sitting in the shade. He's halfway concealed under a down tree, or he's partially behind a tree, and he knows the areas where he can sit, and it's hard to see him. And until he does something, you don't see him.
What so glassing techniques? Let's go around. So do you use 10x42s? Do you tripod them up? When do you use your scope? How do you pick things apart?
I'll tripod periodically, but I'm wanting to glass from sun up to sundown, and I don't take breaks. Like I don't go take a nap in the middle of the day. I'll eat all my food right there. I'm set up. This is where I'm going to be within 100 yards or so. Maybe a tiny bit farther just to try and get some different angles on that same spot. But I'm concerned with comfort, so I want to be as comfortable as possible, so I'll sit there and glass as long as possible. I get a kink in my neck sometimes trying to do off a tripod, and I'll switch back and forth, but I'm kind of fidgeting around moving, trying to just keep comfortable so I don't get too stiff from sitting around in one spot. So I just try and glass as long as possible with my 10x42s. I've got Swarovski SLCs, and I just spend as much time as I can behind those. And then I'll bring the spotter out if I'm suspicious of something, or if there's a couple known trees that are hard to see behind, or I'm trying to see a part of something that looks like it might be a deer. I'll pull the spotter out and just kind of do a sanity check with those. So that's kind of my program for thick country. It's more persistence than it is precision.
Yeah, it's smart. Zach, what's your technique?
I'm a tripod fan. I kind of really got turned on to the tripod hunting Coos country in Arizona, and I haven't left it. Even looking for sheep, which are pretty easy to see, and a lot of times I'll be able to look, just pick up and look. But if I get a good vantage point, I sit down, I get the tripod out and grid. That's kind of how I roll, and it kind of depends too on the distance. I used to run 10s, now I'm running 12s, But that bigger country, I tend to really want a tripod up on for sure, because it's just so much, and to just have it sit there and still, like you just said, you're picking up that movement, and I think it's so much easier to see movement when you're not even touching the thing, But yeah, I'm a tripod believer all the way, but yeah.
Travis, how do you go about it?
I'm pretty random. I used 10x42 Swaros and a 65 spot and scope, but I'm pretty I just hit all the spots that look good to me, all the bucky looking spots, and I move around and get different angles and stuff, and I'll glass an area until I feel like I've covered it pretty well, and then I'll move on. So I think the key is glassing those spots at the right time, and I'm pretty thorough. I don't really have a pattern or any kind of grid system or anything like that. I just glass everything, and seems to work out. So I don't put too much thought into it, I guess. Minus I might plan, if the sun's coming up at my back, that might be a good way to grab a vantage point in the morning where as that sun's hitting that hillside, everything really pops, But
yeah, well, and it's almost just OCD during season, just to have those binos glued to your eyes, every little opening, everything you can see at all times, And I run a hybrid system of knees to elbows, or even as I'm hiking around, looking at openings, just pulling up my binos, just staring at every little bucky spot I can see. And I'm the same way when I'm glassing. I don't have a grid system or a way I cover it. I just look for bucky spots, and I think I do a lot of it subconsciously, where the morning I'm panning openings, the edge of openings, I'm panning through stuff quick, where middle of the day, if I'm sitting above a basin I believe deer are, I'm really going to pick apart the shadows down there. I might even get out my scope and pick it apart down in there. I'm going to change angles and just be more patient before I move as well to make sure I see them. But yeah, and I like mule deer. I really like master vantage points where I can see, either a lot of country or a good slice of country where I think there's deer. But I'm also apt to sit there for an hour and then move up the ridge another half a mile or look at a different drainage or whatever the case is. But yeah, mine's kind of a hybrid system too, of using all of the above. I think the important thing is just to be sitting behind your glass as much as you can.
Yeah, and I think it, the applications are different. Like I'm looking one basin for one deer. I'm not gonna look half a mile away for that deer because I believe in to be in that basin. But if I don't have that one deer found and that's not my target animal in that one spot, I'd be dumb to sit in that one spot. Like I need to move and go find that animal. If I don't have an animal found, I'm not gonna, dependent on country, obviously, I'm not gonna just sit there and find an animal that's not there. So, I think you just have to be aware of where to apply those skills.
Yeah, I think you're right. That just comes with those instincts, right? Of hunting those things a bunch and thinking that deer's in there or knowing that bucks like that drainage, or you don't and you move on. And I'm sure I've made a million mistakes where I've left drainages where there is a big buck in it. But I've also, sat above drainages for a couple sessions and it's like there's just no bucks in here. I just have to move. So you're right. It's like knowing where to apply those tactics, and that just comes with experience and being in mule deer country.
Well, and something else we haven't touched on, but I'm sure we all do. I mean, as you're walking around, you're paying attention. You're obviously trying to keep an eye out, look out in front of you to the sides, but see if there's animals popping up while you're walking. But you're also looking at the ground a little bit. So I'm always paying attention to deer sign. If I hit an area that's got a ton of poop in it, there's well, maybe this is somewhere I need to sit and look a little bit longer. I'm always looking for big tracks. If there's a really big track there, well, a big buck probably made it. So that kind of helps me key in on some of those things. And I think you just have to be able to consume everything that's happening around you and kind of process it all and then make your decisions based off that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I even look at the vegetation.
Yep.
What are they eating? Whether they're picking the heads off of certain plants or
Yeah,
totally tell.
If you watch a handful of deer, even if there's not a buck you want to shoot in, and they're eating this one type of plant, they're just gorging on it, and then you head over to the next finger ridge or you head into the next basin, and it's like, oh man, this is that, but more. It's got that feed, and it's just there's even more moisture in this part of the basin, and everything's growing a foot taller, and there's more escape routes, and there's better cover. It's like, okay, this is maybe the spot, and even if it's a smaller, more condensed area, that might be where the big buck is. So you just have to kind of be able to digest all that information and then make your own decisions.
That's smart. Big tracks equal big bucks, don't they? 4 inches or bigger, you can just tell it's just a big, mature buck, can't you? I can too. I've just looked at enough tracks. And I think, also in this country, like what I look for is historic use. Where deer have been using, they've been using for thousands of years. And so those beds, they've got those things dug out. And so when I can see a basin or a drainage with a bunch of beds as I'm hiking up a ridge or glass beds in different thick cover, it's like, oh, these deer like this spot.
One I've had really good luck with too is you just be walking along and there'll be a big hole in the top of the ridge for no apparent reason with just thousands of tracks pouring into it, and you've just found a natural mineral lick, and everything in the area around it knows it's there and they're going to visit it at some point.
Oh wow, I haven't tapped into that. Mineral licks in the woods. So you just find a bunch of tracks coming to a spot and they're licking
they'll
like
literally
salt in
eat
there.
the dirt out of a hole.
There's a lot of that in Idaho.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's that. Yeah, you guys are really mineral rich through that part, aren't you? Through Idaho.
The elk will really key in on it. It's almost like a wallow. It'll go down. There's usually water in the bottom from the rain, and it's just tore up. And
I've found some of them that are 4 foot deep.
Yeah, I have
too. Oh my gosh, I need to tap into that. I don't know that I've ever recognized that.
Yeah, I mean, and it just seems like an odd thing, but you'll be walking along the ridge, and it's just like all of these tracks converging into this one spot and a giant hole in the hill. There's not, I know of a handful of them, so they're not everywhere, but where they are, the deer and elk know about it and they utilize it, and they won't go to it every day. It's not something you're going to pattern them off of. But it is something to keep in your mind and know that, okay, this is something that animals might travel through, and I might be able to pick up that big deer, that big elk moving through here, and then figure out where his core area is from that.
Yeah, I've found some of those in like the wilderness areas, and I almost think that maybe some of those outfitters or something pitch some salt out of the plane when they're going by or something. Because there was one I found when I was bear hunting this spring, and there was this cut-in trail that goes right up to it that wasn't on a map that obviously an outfitter had scratched out, but
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I haven't tapped into that. I need to pay more attention to those licks like that because, yeah, I know they need those minerals. To grow big, healthy antlers, Huh, that's crazy. The other thing I'll look for, too, when I'm scouting on Google Earth is you can see trails cut across steep hillsides.
Yeah.
So as I'm scouting, and you got to be careful here. Like this can be tame sheep that they put up on the mountain. It can be goats. It can be from a lot of different things. But if I see good trails and good mule deer habitat, I'm pretty sure there's some mule deer in there making them.
Yeah, I really like those high springs too, like in that high country, high on the mountain. It just seems like those are key for those mule deer.
They love them. That's something that I look for a lot too, even in the timber country. If you've got something that's thick and heavy, but there's a natural seep on the hill, there's going to be good feed in it, even if it doesn't have the normal like sun exposure you'd expect a big open basin to have. It'll have great feed in it.
Yeah, just right in that little cut right there, and those deer key in on it. So.
Yeah. They'll hold into those areas really tight, and that's some of my favorite places because they don't have to travel much in that situation. So big bucks really key in on those.
You guys are spot on. Go ahead, Zach.
I've sat at a high spring with my bow and waited for them to come right to me.
And a lot of them, like you've got to, a lot of them don't even have like running surface water.
Yep.
It's just a wet enough spot on the hill to hold
super
that
green
feed.
right there.
Yep.
A lot of times they dig it out so that they can
Yeah.
get a little bit of seep water out of it to drink.
I found one of those in Utah, and it was awesome because it was super dry country, and it was nice to be able to go dig it out and be able to fill my water bladder up. But those deer were using it too, so it was nice.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, you guys are keyed into those springs. Like as you guys say it, I can remember places where I've ran into them in Utah and in Nevada. I've got a couple seeps that are really good, and I like what you said. Like it's just that it's more of a lush neon green in there. That grass gets that moisture from that seep, and it's just greener than anywhere around. And I don't know, sometimes maybe using it for water and things like you were saying, or just using it for that good neon feed.
Yeah, I think both. So.
Yeah, really tapping into that. And for me, moving around the mountains, it's just it's kind of like dissecting each one of these drainages and how I can see them. And I find a lot of guys now hunt the ridge lines. I know one of the best things I can do, even in that super early season, is to take off down these finger ridges and go lose 1,000 feet of elevation or 500 feet of elevation. It seems like these deer have learned, and they like these alpine basins when they're summering, but any pressure or it starts to get later in the season, they just start to get down the hill, and they're still in steep, rugged, gnarly country. And Dioni, this is probably where you've scouted a buck up high, and he's going to be a little bit lower, but you find those same bucks that they just move lower in the mountain and tighten up their habits. And
a lot of the deer I'm watching, their summer routine will consist of being in that 1,500, 2,000 foot below the peak type country. That's where they're scratching out a living the whole summer, fall.
Okay.
So, they're the deer that you don't see if you're walking from the top of the ridge. You'd never see these deer from the top of the ridge.
Yep, I believe that. Yep, that top of that main ridge. Sometimes you can get good vantage points and pick out deer, but I think you're right. Just diving off that top a little bit, especially in the season you hunt. Like I know Wyoming, it's the same thing. You work that main ridge line, during rifle season, they can be tough to pick out. It's almost like just dropping down, just another little level to where they're at. And I had a spot that I scouted really hard one year in Wyoming and had a bunch of good bucks in there. And there's probably 100 different bucks living in this drainage. And I go up there to hunt it, and all those basins are just void of deer. I can't find all these deer I've scouted, and nobody's hunting it. I can't figure it out, and it's just that transition when they start to shed that velvet. And I'm not sure if it's shedding the velvet. I actually think it's the food burning off up high, and then they just start to drop. But as soon as I dropped down 1,500 feet, all those bucks I had scouted were all down in that country, and ended up arrowing one late in the hunt, a really nice heavy buck. But yeah, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, once that velvet comes off and they start to get that gray coat, that's exactly what I think too. That's about the time that feed burns off that they've been eating all summer, and they kind of just drop down. They tighten up their living. They're not out as much in the morning, not out, they just tighten up everything. They don't move as much. They become a different animal really quick.
Here again, this is one of the things that I've really noticed around some of those seeps is that feed will last longer. So you can utilize, they'll be utilizing some of that late summer feed into early fall. And that's one of the things that really holds a buck a little bit longer and makes them a lot more killable, because they're gonna hold on to that resource as long as it's good, because it is a better resource for them.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. Yeah, and it's just wild how these mule deer can live from the desert floor to the high mountains and just find a place to carve out a good living. But it's not by accident the places they're living, is it?
It's very intentional.
Yes, you find these places and it's very intentional. They live there for a reason, and it's a place, and it makes sense. Like a buck to grow up to its full maturity, this 5, 6, 7-year-old deer, he has to find a place where he doesn't get seen, doesn't get found, doesn't get shot. And so, inherently they end up living in these little holes or these little basins where they are tough to hunt.
It's funny. We've talked multiple times through this Western Hunting Summit about like what's your why and how to stay motivated and how to keep yourself into something. But a lot of times I like to think, what's the deer's why? Like once you understand his motivators, it's really easy to go from place to place to place and kind of put this filter on to where you're trying to think of, okay, what are these deer potentially looking for in this area? What's their resources? What are those things that they're going to do to carve out the best living they can in this landscape? And when you start to be able to identify that, you can go from place to place to place and find deer quickly.
Yep.
Man, that's a great perspective. Yeah, to look at it through the deer's eyes. And they really like good feed is key for them, but they also like to be secluded and hidden.
Yep.
And then they like escape routes as well. They love to be able to escape out of a basin. If you got a basin that's surrounded by rock, if they don't have some escape routes out of there, they don't like it as much. Yeah, trying to think like a deer. That's smart. I like that. Yeah, for sure. And Travis, you hunt like a lot of the high country as well, but you do really good down in the sage where some of these deer grow up. Like how would you describe it? Like foothills or high desert or sage country?
High desert,
yeah,
low country. I kind of keyed in on those areas because I can scout them a lot, and that's kind of my go-to, just because, over-the-counter tags, and that's what I can kind of bank on. And then a lot of that high country stuff is like my secondary. I like hunting high country better. It's more enjoyable, the country and that stuff, but I like to have that consistency, be able to pattern a buck and have a good chance at killing them, and then I can move on to my second tag or my next hunt, and really then it comes from a hyper-focused, fine-tuned, I know where this buck's living or a bunch of bucks are living, to covering country and using different tactics.
Well, and Travis really dials it in too. Like we used to actually carpool to work together for a period of time, and I can remember like when we have those really long summer days, Travis was getting out of work and he's like, okay, I've got just enough time if I haul butt right now, I can get to where I can glass him right at last light. And he's taking advantage like every spare minute he has to glass all these different places, because it's like he said, it's really big for him for that time management component. He's making the most of every second he's got. So I think he's found a good situation where he's taking advantage of resources that he can make the most of. There's probably better places in the world than where we're all hunting, but we found something that we're uniquely positioned to take advantage of.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of what's right there, and that's, we're fortunate to live where we do, because we've got good deer hunting, good elk hunting all around us. So, and then I kind of look at some of these other states as just a bonus and an adventure.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's great. That sage country, it's wild because a mature buck can grow up on the top of the mountain and be a migrating mule deer that comes down to his winter range, lives his summer habitat, lives at 13,000 feet in these alpine basins. Or like this high desert, this sage country, it can grow some giant bucks, and you've harvested some giant bucks down there.
Oh, yeah.
They just carve out a living and find a way not to get seen, not to get located, and in that sage country, sometimes it's wide open, and they just find a place to bed and find a place to hide and that stuff. Yeah, I bet it's has it surprised you where you found deer in that country?
Oh yeah. It's kind of crazy. Like, big bucks are where you find them, and they are. Yep. It's usually tied to feed, number one, and then it's seclusion. So wherever they have that good feed, they're going to be nearby where they can get away from that feed to bed up for the day.
Yeah, that seclusion is a good point. So, it's good to take advantage of all these. I have a couple mountain mule deer hunts this year. I've got a desert one, and then I've got a like that high desert hunt like you're talking about in the sage. I try to take advantage of all the different habitats and opportunities I can get because I love to hunt mule deer so much. But that sage country, boy, they can blend in that open country, and they can grow big in that stuff. And you talking about the seclusion, I find a lot of times in these roaded areas, it's just finding a drainage that you can't glass from a road, or you can't see from an easy spot. Or like I use backpacking techniques in this one high pressure area that I hunt to get back in, and it's just a few miles, but nobody's making that hike in there, living in there, and those deer just love to run in there where they're not getting pressured.
Yeah, that's pretty much all my hunting is getting away from roads to those secluded areas, which is harder to find in the high desert and low country. But once you find them and you find those right pieces, then you usually find the bucks. And there's usually fewer and farther between, and man, usually find some good bucks. So the cool thing is when you find that buck, nobody else is keyed in on him. You got that buck to yourself. Those bucks are also a lot smarter, though, it seems like.
They are.
Those high country bucks, they can be a little more docile. You can get away with a little more, I feel like, because I think those deer, they have a big migration for the most part. They're going through all their transition zones back to their summer range, where these low country bucks, they live there all year round and don't go anywhere.
Well, they're really keyed in because they do know that one ridge over has four-wheelers 30 times a day.
Yeah.
They know that stuff, and I haven't mastered it like Travis, but I spent a lot of time watching some of those kind of deer, and you'll be watching them and you'll hear something, or a four-wheeler, motorcycle, truck, whatever's the next ridge over, and you can hear it, and that deer will tighten up. He'll bed down, he'll sit there, and he'll just watch. And then whatever he was doing, he won't go back to doing for a while. Like he's really keyed in because he's got all these distractions going on in his area, and they hate that. They want those big deer that live in these isolated, remote mountainous areas. They've got a lot less of that going on, so they're a lot less high strung. And I think those desert deer like Travis is going after are like they're some of the toughest to find and hunt.
Well, and I think it can be what I've experienced with those sagebrush bucks is they play the wind to their advantage every time. I mean, it's like, you have the thermals to work with, and you know what that's going to be pretty consistently, right? And you get in that desert country, and I mean, I had a buck one time. I had him scouted out opening day. I was there, and the wind was wrong, and there was no other way for me to get into him because it was so open. I could only come in from one angle.
Yeah, they play the wind.
Yeah, and 4 days I'd be there, and I watch him go bed up, and there's nothing I can do about it. And on day 5, the wind was wrong for them. It was right for me. I come in from that angle, and they bed up 150 yards from where they normally bed. And I'm pinned, right? I can't do nothing. And then they waited, and they were hoping as it got hotter for that wind to switch back, and they were going to get back into their normal bedding area. And it never did switch. It was a consistent, storm was moving in. And so they go back and they pick a different chunk of sage that I've never seen them bed in all summer. And I had to make a move, and I ended up getting in on him and killing him. But it was that one day that the wind was wrong for them. I was shocked on how they play that wind in that open country to where you can't even get in on them because they got their little spot that they can bed in. All there's 4 of them, and they're all in different directions, and I can't get in on them because it's too open.
Yeah, playing that wind. They're smart.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why we all love mule deer so much is, it's the country they take us to, but they're really switched on. Like the species of mule deer, they get really good at living in their habitat and knowing when danger's in there and avoiding it. They're really good at disappearing, going to secondary living after they've been spooked and going into a different spot. But they're so challenging and tough to harvest a big one. I mean, and everybody wants a big 180-inch plus mule deer out there. And there's so many tags across the West for these deer, but there's very few guys that stack up multiple of these bucks, and it's just about, like you guys have done, paying your dues, learning the species, putting constant effort in, and improving our skill sets until where we can harvest these bigger age class bucks. But this is a fun game, isn't it? Muley hunting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nothing better. So.
Nothing better. Yeah, I think if I could, I know if I could hunt one species, the rest of my life, there's no doubt in my mind I'd write down mule deer right now.
100%.
I'd take that deal. Yeah,
Yep.
they're just they're smart and they're crafty and they have a knack for making the right moves, and they don't put themselves in a bad position very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's fun. You guys got a bunch of hunts coming up this year. I can't wait to see what you turn up. So yeah, guys can find you social media. Travis, you've got your new knife out, goat knife. It's doing really well. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so I came up with this. It's a replacement blade knife that is also doubles up as a set of Allen wrenches. So you can have a 1/4-inch bit, which it comes with the kit. Yeah, and you can fix your bow sights or tighten up a tripod in the backcountry. It's focused on being multi-purposed and lightweight. So it's
such a great product. But yeah, I couldn't be happier. It's like you're such a hustler. You know, you've got a full-time job and love to bow hunt, and then you come up with these ideas. And it's almost self-serving for you, I think, as you like to use the products that you come up. It's something that you need or that you use, and that's why you come up with it.
That's the driving force. It's cool to actually be able to, get some income from it, but the driving force behind it is I like to just be minimalistic. I like to take the bare minimum, and this is eliminating packing a set of Allen wrenches. I just feel like throwing in 3 1-inch, 1/4-inch bits, to do everything I need to do for my system, that's way better than packing a set of Allens,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, dude, I have so much respect for what you do. Like I say, you're my bow hunting brother. I love checking in with you throughout the season, and we're going to put a hunt together and hook up for one of these things. But, yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited, and thank you.
Yep. Zach,
Yeah.
so, man, I am so jealous. I've heard from people that they're going to move to Alaska and hunt Dall sheep. Very few people follow through with that. You're one of the guys that you told me you were going to move up there, and then you've moved up there, and you've got the most out of it, man. You've been hunting Dall sheep and goats and brown bear, Kodiak brown bear.
Yeah.
Dude, it's wild. You're going on a bunch of amazing adventures out there.
Yeah, I mean, when I moved up, I straight up told everybody my goal was to kill a sheep and a goat every year. And then after anything other than that was going to be a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And the first year I moved up there, I did. I killed a goat and a Dall sheep. And last year didn't quite work out that way. I wasn't the one that ended up pulling the trigger, but I was still a part of a handful of sheep and a couple goats, So it was still, I was there. I just wasn't the one pulling the trigger. But this year I think it's going to be a lot different. I'm up first to pull the trigger on a ram, so I got some pretty high expectations. And then then I just got stupid lucky on that Kodiak tag, because that pretty much all Kodiak's a draw, and I mean it's a less than 1% draw odds. I mean, it's drawing the hardest tag in the state to draw, and so got really lucky and had a great hunt on that here just a month ago in May. So.
Man, well, you're making the most out of it. It's really fun to follow along. I love your videos that you were coming out with. So do you have any new videos out, or where can guys check you out?
Well, I've got a lot of videos on hard drives. I haven't had time to edit. I've got 6, 7 just really quality hunts to come out. I was down last March in Mexico with my dad, and we shot desert sheep. And I got that all on film. That's going to be a really good one. And then just a couple rams. We did a spring black bear hunt out of the Puget Sound, and killed 4 bears in 24 hours, and that's all on film, and it's going to be a really good one. Took a new hunter out on that, and she shot her first big game animal, so that was a really cool moment to capture. And I just got to find time to edit. It's like, I spend so much time hunting that when I'm not hunting, I got to be working. I got to make money somehow. And so it's I just been working so much these last 2 years really when I'm not hunting, and I just haven't had time to get caught up on the editing. But it's gonna happen soon. I have to. I'm getting so far behind that. And I want to see these videos completed too. It's like I enjoy watching them just as much as anybody else. I mean, there's times I get on the YouTube channel and just watch all my own videos in one sitting. Yep. It just kind of gets me remotivated and excited for the upcoming season. So, but it's hardworking hunter on the YouTube channel, so and Instagram. But there'll be new videos coming out, and I'll probably be backlogged. It'll be some of the older ones first, but. Yeah, and then this, like I said, this season, I think we're gonna kill some nice sheep, and it'll all be on film, so it'll be good.
Man, awesome. Well, I can't wait to see the new videos, and I definitely know how that goes. It's tough to be a blue-collar hunter that is so passionate about hunting. Like you say, we've got to work all year so we can take a few days in the field. But, yeah, definitely make sure you check out his social media and YouTube page, and, we're excited to see those new ones.
Yeah.
Dioni, man, I'm so impressed you're such a specialist for those mule deer and continue to turn up good ones and harvest good ones every year. Man, where can guys follow along on your adventures?
I'm not super social media active, but I'm on Instagram as Wild Idaho, and then I spend a little bit of time on Rockslide, and it's just like my name's basically the first part of my email. But that's where I'm at on social media. I've been filming stuff for years, but it's all just like 1 second clips or 10-second clips. But no, that's where I'm at anyway.
You're so passionate about everything mule deer. I don't know, like you don't hunt elk, you hunt mule deer. That's what you hunt, and you're so into your rifles performing correct. You're so into the knowledge of mule deer. You're just headfirst into it. So it's no surprise when I see you successful year after year, dude. You're a really good mule deer hunter.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So cool, you guys. Thanks so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, guys, that's a podcast. Oh, so many killers in the room. That made for a really good recording. So much great insight into mule deer hunting. So I can't thank those guys enough to come on and share their insight and information that they've had to learn the hard way, through years of trial and error and sacrifice. And I just think it's so great that we're in this information day and age where there are so many knowledgeable guys willing to share podcasts out there, so much great literature. Gosh, I would have absolutely eaten this up as a young kid learning how to bow hunt. Just to be able to further this learning curve in a short amount of time is so valuable. So I just can't thank those guys enough. I can't thank you guys enough for the support of this podcast. I'm just so humbled that we can make this thing all work, and thanks to you guys' support with the podcast, downloads, shares, the support on social media. It all really helps out. So I appreciate it. I also want to thank our sponsors for the show. I want to thank Eberly Stock. Great packs for a great price point. And I also want to thank Sportsman's Warehouse. If you guys are in the market for anything before your hunts, backpacking, food, anything you need for a hunt, they have it all and a knowledgeable staff, and we'll make sure to give them some love for season. So also thanks to Eastmans for support of this podcast. I do have another fly fishing specific podcast, so it's got about 20 episodes or so, Eastman's Flycast. It's a really fun podcast. This week I have on Todd Helms comes on and one of his friends, Sam Bailey, and we just have this great back and forth about summer fly fishing. So super podcast. I'm really enjoying it. So make sure to check that out if you're interested. It's called Eastman's Flycast. Check out Tag Hub, that giveaway we have going, and everything at Eastman's. I just really enjoy being part of this team, and it's like a dream come true for me. I used to run to my mailbox to get the Eastman's magazines, and now to have a place in the company with the podcasts and writing and things, it is an absolute dream come true. So thanks to those guys for their support of everything. And man, oh man, are we closing in on go time. I start August 10th. I've got about 12 days until my season opens. Training has gone flawlessly. Absolute top peak physical condition. My mind's strong. I have the time off. That Matthews bow is just absolutely shooting. Man, I can't wait. I am ready to test my skills. I'm ready to cut my legs loose. I'm ready to go have some Western adventure. Man, I know it's going to test me. I know there's going to be challenges, but I just can't wait. I've got time this year. I've been taking care of all my construction work and taking care of these podcasts and making sure I've got great next level information to release to you guys. And it's time to cut these legs loose and time to see what I'm made of. Man, you wait all year for these hunts to come back around, the high country mule deer and the elk hunts and antelope and into late season deer. I just can't believe another season is at my doorstep. I swear I get more excited every single year. I just fall deeper in love with this endeavor, the challenge of it, the hard work that goes into it, and I think every year I'm getting better. I know I ran more miles this year than I did last year, more elevation, better prepared. My body feels 100%, and I've really got my mind right. I know what I'm capable of, and I really want to. I just want to have an adventure and enjoy the process, but I'm going to set my goals pretty high. And if I come back from a hunt and I don't fill a tag, it's not going to be the end of the world, because I'm going to be shooting for those next level critters and really put this high bar or this high mark that I want to try to hit. And I just absolutely can't wait. I just know I'm ready. Family's ready. Man, it's freaking go time. So with that, I'm going to release some really good podcasts to you guys coming out before I leave. Some good solos. I know it's been a couple months since I've done some solos, so going to record one on specifically antelope hunting, specifically on mule deer hunting. Just covered a really good one with Dylan last week on elk hunting, but I'm sure I'll do an elk hunting one as well. And anything else I can think of to kind of set myself up right for season and set you guys up for success come season. Just give you all those, I'm the same as you guys. I'm out working my butt off on public lands, trying to learn, evolve, adapt, be the very best I can be. And through that, I get to share my journey with you and what works for me and my mindset, my execution on animals. And I just think that insight is so valuable. So super excited at this podcast, where it's headed, super excited at season. So I just can't thank you guys enough for all the support. And with that, I'll check in with you next week.